Hi BookTube, it's Amy. I'm here once again after a long period of time with another story from Honoré de Balzac's human comedy. And this might be one of the finest short stories that he ever wrote. And this is called Peace in the House. And it is about a woman, a married woman, who goes to a ball in 1809 to carry out the scheme devised by her aunt to get peace in her house, because she has suspected that her husband has been having an affair with one of the most beautiful women in society, and her aunt has concocted this scheme to win her husband back, or at the very least let her husband know that she knows about his infidelity, and to confront him about it in a way. But Balzac doesn't tell this to us right away. Rather, he leads us through the story, through this mystery of who this mysterious woman sitting in the corner of the ballroom behind several rows of people under a candelabra, who this mysterious woman in the blue dress is. And she's described as being very beautiful, having perfect, beautiful, pale skin, a complexion that is admirable to everyone in the room. And even to the point where she's perhaps accruing the jealousy of some of the society women that come through the ball. So we are introduced to the Count de Grandeville, who is married but is having an affair with a woman by the name of Madame de Vromont. And Madame de Vromont shows up fashionably late. She shows up at 11 p.m. At the point when all the other women at the ball have been there for a couple of hours, and so their dresses are starting to get wrinkled, the flowers and feathers in their hair are starting to droop, they're starting to get sweaty from being in a room full of people, and they're starting to look tired. And Madame de Vaudemont always shows up fashionably late and only stays for an hour or two, so that she can always look fresh and always have the envy of all the men and the women at the ball. But this particular evening, she decides to stay longer because she is interested in this mysterious woman in the blue dress in the corner, who is not dancing with anyone and not talking to anyone. And nobody seems to know who she is, but she is stoic in the corner, unapproachable, looking quite downcast and quite in grief, which leads to a group of men between dances theorizing about who she could be. And we have characters here referred to as the Marshal and the Colonel, and I think there's one or two others who join this little group in the corner talking about who this woman could be. And the Colonel approaches her first and attempts to have a conversation, asks her to dance, asks why she's sitting in this corner, and the lady admits that she is indeed married. We find out at some point that she is a countess and that she has no intention of dancing. He goes off and ends up sort of challenging the Marshal to a wager for a horse, whether the Marshal can convince this lady to dance with him. And so he goes in and has a conversation with her, and I'll leave it up to you to read this story as to whether he succeeds or not. But everybody in this story seems to be having an affair with everybody else. And the purpose of the story, I think, is for Balzac to show this sort of opulent and excessive society that existed at this point in time. He actually goes so far as to say in here, and I'm got on the wrong story here, in his opening, that this is a time of excess. At this time, most women affected that lightness of conduct and facility of morals which distinguished the reign of Louis XV, whether it were in imitation of the tone of the fallen monarchy or because certain members of the imperial family had set the example, as certain malcontents of the Faubourg Saint-Germain choose to say. It is certain that men and women alike flung themselves into a life of pleasure with an intrepidity which seemed to forebode the end of the world. And we are in November of 1809 here, which Balzac points out the moment when Napoleon's fugitive empire attained the apogee of its splendor. So we are under the rule of Napoleon here, but he is comparing the behavior of the men and the women at this ball to the excesses and the moral behavior as that under Louis XV. And he does this nice lead in here as the narrator. I think in most cases Balzac is sort of serving as the narrator for his own stories, as that was certainly the style of the day. But whether it's Balzac or an unknown narrator, or a narrator leads us into this story and sets the scene for us and describes, you know, Madame de Vermont as the prettiest woman in Paris, but perhaps rivaled by this woman in the corner. And there's really this great twist near the end, and it all hinges upon this giant opulent diamond ring that someone at the ball is wearing. And we find out that this ring has been passed around to several people. And in fact, it sort of has a provenance of all the affairs that have taken place. So this was a really, really excellent short story by Balzac, and definitely something that I would recommend.